Welcome to Down in the Barns. We're here today at Classic and Sports Cars Essex to catch up on the progress on the Triumph Stag. We've been doing the front end of the car, as you know. We've done the inner wings and the door skins, and you can see that we've been working on the inner arches, cutting all of that out. So we're going to go through that in detail and talk to Mick about some of the work that he's been doing on the car. One of the ambitions when we started this car was we wanted to get to the end of it without any filler on the car whatsoever. And given the amount of rust we had on this, that's been a real challenge. So on this front, I mean, particularly the wings don't necessarily fit properly because we can't get the original rings.
No, they're patterned wings.
Yeah. So what is the process you go through on the leading?
Well, basically we have to make the wing fit with all the gaps and bonnet gaps and everything like that first, and then where this wing meets this front top panel, a lot of people just put a weld on it and put filler in there, or just put a sealer in there.
Right.
But we prefer to weld it continually and then lead it over and level it and shape all this curve, all this round, so you don't at a later date have cracks down there.
So you literally melt the lead onto here,
yeah, well,
and then what you've got?
Yeah, it's a stick of lead.
Yeah.
Stick of lead with I make my own tool for spreading it about with gas.
Yeah.
Heat it up, put it onto the wing, and then you use your tool to level it the best you can. And then once you've done that, it's cooled down. You blade it off with a body blade. Yeah. And that blades the lead off to the shape.
Right.
And then the final bit is you scribe a line down there with a tool so it looks original.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you didn't have that line, it wouldn't look original.
Yeah.
And then we just sand it to the shape.
Okay, so I mean, it's incredible that you get to this
point.
point.
Thank you.
That's all right. But there is no filler whatsoever on this.
I mean, because lead is how it is, it's quite coarse, you have pinholes.
Yeah.
When you blade it off, you have few discrepancies with pinholes. So we use stopper in that, not filler, stopper.
Yeah, just as a smooth.
But we use, where you used to use old-fashioned stopper, we use a 2-pack stopper.
Right.
So which is much better.
So all of the wings, both sides have been done. So from here, all of the door skins have been done, and then the sills have all been replaced. But just as important, inside those sills, all the supporting parts have been structurally reinforced. So Mick, the inside of the car, it's not staying like this. What happens to this next?
Well, basically, at the moment, we've got bits of masking in there because we've been priming through from the other side, because we've been priming the engine bay, because that was stripped back to bare metal, I'm sure you remember. Yeah, yeah. So that has to be all primed as well. But basically, the masking will come off. We'll mask up the outside of the primer, and the whole of the inside of this car, as you can see, it's all been sanded and prepped, will be anti-chipped.
And that's the same stuff that will be used underneath the car as well?
Yeah, the underneath will be done exactly the same. And what we generally do, we'll come up the edge of the seal, only about 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8. So yeah, it all gets painted, all the underneath, all exactly the same with the anti-chip. Really weatherproofing. Yeah. And that's all up under your new inner arches and everything.
So really, it's like modern day standards in terms of rust proofing.
Yeah, instead of the old fashioned.
Yeah.
You know, this is a more later product, and it's a lot more resilient.
Okay. Hopefully it's going to last a lifetime. So Mick, I know a big thing for you is the gaps have to be right around the vehicle. Yeah, so 100%. When you're doing this whole door section, how do you make that happen?
Well, basically, because we put new door skins on, when the car is suspended, we have to support it in the position where the wheels would normally be connected to the suspension and the suspension to the car. So we actually put the car on stands exactly how it would sit on the road. Yeah. Because otherwise the body could flex. And so then when you put all the suspension on the car and put it on the ground, the door gaps and everything would close up or open. Yeah. So that's why we have to suspend it like that.
So once you've got it in that position, how do you then make sure that the gaps are right then?
Well, basically, we have to put the door on and align it to the best position as we can to have the gaps where we need them. And then we basically build up all the side of the gaps of the front wings, and the same on the back wings. We lead all the way down and then blade the gaps as nice and even, and then just sand it
right.
up. So,
and is that how it was done in the original factory?
yeah, I mean, Stags do have, they generally, because they were genuine panels, the front wings would fit a lot better, so they didn't necessarily put very much lead on the front at all.
Right.
But on the backs, because the wings can be put on in different positions, they had quite a bit of lead down here on the genuine one.
Right. We've got to this position now where the bodywork's all but finished, and we've got one undercoat on it. So what are the next steps now? Over the next 6 weeks, I think we plan to get this to a point where it can start to be fitted out.
We will want to mask the car up completely, all the inside, because that stops any little bits of debris or anything like that flying out over the coats of paint. But basically, we need to re-prime it now, build up a little bit of primer, and then what we'll do, we let that cure overnight, and then we block it all down, all by hand. We don't use machinery.
Yeah.
Block it all down by hand, and just do all the final shaping. Any little minute discrepancies that might be in the paint are shown up with a guide coat. So we rub it all down, and then we unmask it, clean it all up, and basically remask it for a base coat of white. So what we do is we put about 3 coats of white paint all over the car.
Yeah.
And then we leave that, let it cure, and then we nibble that down lightly all the way over the whole car, and then we remask it, and then we put the top coats on. We leave that to cure, and then we very finely nib for any little minute bits of dust, anything like that, and polish the car back to a really deep shine.
This sounds like it's not going to cost very much money then, Mick.
Well, I'm not quite sure what holiday to book at the moment until you actually pay.
I mean, it is a huge amount of work, isn't it? I mean, I don't think people recognise how much goes on to get these cars. And
I mean,
that sort of
people
condition.
just think you bring the car in and you put some paint on it, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
So it's a hell of a lot of hours. And believe me, you could not do it if you wasn't passionate about your job.
Yeah. So 6 weeks work really to get that.
I wouldn't say it's 6 weeks because you have to have the break time in between for curing.
So it's a 6 week period.
Over a period of 6 weeks. It's surprising how long it takes to actually flat and polish the final finish.
Yeah.
That can take, on the shell, because don't forget, you've got your boot lid, your bonnet and your doors. You know, that can take up to 2 days to do the final polishing of the top coats. And then you've got your panels. So, yeah, it's a lot of work, mate.
Well, that's it from this episode of Down at the Barns. Don't forget to subscribe at the link down below. And a big thank you to Classic and Sports Cars, Mick. Thanks for your time today and taking us through what everything is going to happen. Thank you.